Alarms scream through the hull before I even open my eyes. I am Daniel Cole, captain of the UES Meridian, and the first thing I hear on the worst day of my life is the voice of my second-in-command shouting that the sky above Earth has turned black, with ships that do not belong to us. I run to the bridge with my boots half-laced. Every screen shows the same nightmare. Thousands of alien vessels hang above the planet like a storm that refuses to break. My weapons officer, Grace Bell, stands frozen at her station, her hands shaking over the controls. My navigator, Ryan Patel, keeps whispering numbers under his breath, trying to count ships that cannot be counted. Command gives me one order: hold the line above the eastern coast until every evacuation ship clears the atmosphere. That is it. No promise of backup, no promise that we will see tomorrow. Just hold. I look at my crew, 22 men and women who trusted me to bring them home. None of them signed up to face an armada built from technology older than our written history. But none of them run either. The alien fleet begins its descent in perfect formation, thousands of vessels moving like a single creature made of metal and light. My ship, the smallest warship in the entire human fleet, sits alone between them and the cities below. Grace turns to me, her voice tight. "Captain, our scanners cannot even measure their shields properly. The numbers keep changing." I nod because there is nothing comforting I can say. I only tell her the truth. Then we fight with what we know, not what we do not. The first wave of enemy fighters breaks from the main fleet and dives toward us. My chest tightens, but my voice stays steady when I give the order to raise shields and bring weapons online. The Meridian shudders as the first shots strike our hull. Sparks fly from a console near the back of the bridge. Ellie Novak, our young systems officer, slaps out a small fire with her bare hands and keeps working without a word of complaint. We return fire. Our first strikes hit 2 enemy fighters, and both explode into bright flashes that fade as fast as they appeared. For one heartbeat, my crew almost smiles, but the celebration dies quickly. Behind those 2 fighters, hundreds more are already lining up. I open a channel to Earth Command. My voice cracks slightly as I report our position and the size of what we are facing. The officer on the other end tells me evacuation ships need 11 more minutes. 11 minutes, against an armada that could erase my ship in 11 seconds if they wanted to. I close the channel and look at my crew again. 11 minutes, I tell them. We give them 11 minutes. The bridge falls silent except for the constant hum of the ship's systems and the distant echo of impacts against our shields. Ryan finally speaks, his voice barely above a whisper. "Captain, our shields are down to 60% already, and we have not even faced their main fleet yet. I know this. I feel this in my bones, but retreat is not an option when millions of people below us are still boarding transport ships, holding their children, praying that someone up here is buying them time. The enemy sends a second wave. This time, it is not just fighters. 3 cruisers break formation and head straight for us, their weapons charging with a glow that lights up half the sky. Grace's hands move fast over her console, targeting each cruiser's weak points, points she memorized during years of studying alien wreckage recovered from earlier scouting battles. I give the order to fire everything we have. The Meridian releases a spread of torpedoes, aimed precisely where Grace marked. The first cruiser takes a direct hit, and its hull cracks open, venting atmosphere into space. The second cruiser swerves but not fast enough, taking damage along its side. The third opens fire on us before we can strike again. Our ship rocks violently, lights flicker. Someone near the engineering deck reports a hull breach on Deck 4, already being sealed. I grip the edge of my chair and force myself to stay calm, because panic spreads faster than any weapon fire. Ellie shouts that she has found something strange in the enemy's communication signals. "A pattern," she says, almost like a warning being broadcast between their ships. I ask her what it means. She shakes her head, still working, and says she is not sure yet, but the pattern spikes, every time we land a hit in a very specific location on their hulls. Grace catches on first. She says it might be a signal relay point, something that connects their ships together for coordinated movement. If we hit enough of those points, their formation might break apart on its own. There is no time to test theories carefully. We are seconds from being overwhelmed. I make the call. Target every relay point Ellie can identify, one after another, as fast as our systems allow. The bridge becomes a blur of motion. Grace fires with precision I have never seen from her before. Ryan adjusts our position again and again, keeping us just out of reach of incoming fire, while still allowing clear shots at our targets. Ellie feeds coordinates faster than I thought possible, her earlier fear replaced completely by focus. One relay point goes down, then another. On the main screen, I watch a strange ripple pass through the enemy formation, ships suddenly moving out of sync, colliding gently with each other as their coordination weakens. Command radios in, confused about what they are seeing. I tell them to keep the evacuation moving and let us handle the confusion. More enemy ships turn toward us now, clearly aware that we have found a weakness. This is the moment I expected to lose everything. My shields drop below 30%. A hull breach opens on deck 2, and 2 crew members are pulled toward the emergency ceiling doors, injured, but alive thanks to quick reflexes from the response team. I do not have time to grieve or worry. I only have time to fight. I take manual control of one weapons array myself, something I have not done since my early training years. My hands move on instinct alone, striking 2 more relay points before the system nearly overheats. Grace glances at me, surprised, but says nothing. There is no time for words, only action. The enemy formation begins to fracture even more. Ships that once moved like a single unit now drift unevenly, firing at random, some even striking their own allies by mistake. It is chaos, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. 9 minutes have passed since command asked for 11. My ship is barely holding together. Warning lights blink across every panel. Yet somehow, we are still here. I open another channel to Earth. My voice comes out rough from shouting orders for the last several minutes. I ask for an update. The officer's voice trembles with disbelief as she tells me the last evacuation ship has cleared the atmosphere. Every civilian transport is safely away from the coastline. Relief floods through me, but there is no time to celebrate. The enemy fleet, disorganized and confused, begins pulling back from the coordinated attack. Something inside their command structure seems to be recalculating, unsure how one small ship caused so much disruption. Ellie's voice cuts through the tension. Captain, their main fleet is changing course. They are retreating. For a moment, I think I misheard her. I ask her to repeat it. She does, her eyes wide with disbelief that matches my own. The alien fleet, an armada large enough to blacken the sky, begins pulling away from Earth's orbit, moving in a slow and cautious withdrawal. I do not understand it fully. Not in that moment. Later, intelligence officers would explain that our repeated strikes on their relay points triggered a deep survival protocol within their fleet, a system designed to prevent total collapse if enough command ships lost connection. To them, we must have looked like a threat capable of dismantling their entire coordination network, something they were not willing to risk against an unknown enemy. But in that instant, all I know is that my crew, wounded, exhausted, and afraid, somehow held the line long enough to change the outcome of an invasion that should have ended human civilization within hours. I walk through the ship afterward, checking on every crew member personally. Grace sits quietly at her station, staring at the empty space where enemy ships used to be. Ryan leans back in his chair, releasing a breath he seems to have been holding for the entire battle. Ellie smiles for the first time since the alarms went off, though tears still shine in her eyes. I do not feel like a hero. I feel like someone who was simply too stubborn to give up when giving up seemed like the only reasonable choice. But maybe that stubbornness is exactly what saved us. News of the retreat spreads across Earth within minutes. People who had been running toward shelters stop and look up at the sky, watching the alien fleet shrink into the distance. Children who do not fully understand what happened cheer, simply because the adults around them are crying tears of relief instead of fear. I return to my quarters much later, my body aching, my mind still racing with everything that happened. I think about how close we came to losing everything, how a single ship with a determined crew somehow forced back an invasion force, built to conquer worlds far stronger than ours. I do not know if the aliens will return with a larger fleet, better prepared for what we showed them today. But I know one thing for certain: Earth is still standing, and as long as people like Grace, Ryan, and Ellie are willing to hold the line, we will always find a way to stand back up, no matter how impossible the odds seem. For now, I allow myself a small moment of peace, watching the stars through my window, grateful for every person who trusted me to bring them home, and even more grateful that today, I finally could.